There comes a moment when everything starts to feel too familiar, too small, too loud, or too quiet. You don't hate it, but it no longer fits. That's not failure, that's evolution. Maybe it's your city, your routine, maybe even your friend group. And deep down, there's something whispering, you're not meant to stay here forever. Welcome back to Evolving with Amy, a place for growth, self-discovery, and becoming the best version of yourself. I haven't been as excited as I am today to film this video because I feel like I am the perfect example of evolving into a new environment or out of the environment that I was in. There's a feeling that comes when we're outgrowing a place. You're not inspired, you feel disconnected. Everything just feels off, like you're no longer where you belong. And it's not that the place changed, it's that you did. You're stretching, you're growing, and suddenly things feel way too tight. Have you ever felt like that? When we outgrow a place, we start to feel unseen. We start to feel misunderstood and restless. It's like you're constantly fantasizing about somewhere else, but at the same time, there could be something holding you back and you have no idea what it is. While also feeling like you're betraying your potential by staying right where you are. The first 10 years of my life, I moved in Mexico. I was actually born and raised in Sinaloa, Mexico. And when my parents divorced, me and my siblings were brought to the United States, specifically California. So I had been in California from 10 years old all the way till 30 years old. Literally 20 years. I literally grew up in California, if you will. So it's really funny, by the way, when people ask me like, where are you from? Because I'm like, are you asking for my nationality? Are you asking where I grew up? Are you asking where I currently live right now? Like, it's always really, really confusing when someone asks me that question because I feel like I'm from every single place that I've been at, right? And it hasn't been too many. It's only been Mexico and California now that I live in Arizona, but it's still a little bit confusing and also funny. It becomes almost like a topic of conversation in that moment because actually before I moved out to Arizona, when I lived in California and people would ask me, where are you from? I would straight up just say Mexico. And people would be like, no, but like, where are you from? And like my friends would be with me, right? And they'd be like, she's from Mexico. And I'm like, yeah, like you're asking where I'm from. I'm from Mexico. Like I was born and raised in Mexico. So it was always funny. And that's still something that I feel like I say and I will forever say because that is where I was born and raised. But then I was also raised in California. That's besides the topic, and we can, on my personal vlog, talk more about that topic. But today, I wanted to share about my experience moving as an adult from California to Arizona. Being that I lived there for 20 years, I basically lived there my whole adulthood. At this point, it's been more years than anywhere else. And I can say that for a while, it gave me everything that I needed. At some point in my 20s, I always had a thought that I would go live somewhere else, and it was almost like something that I desired, but I didn't know that it was something that was possible for me. I also didn't know that I would become as free as I have now, and I mean it in the way where you're no longer afraid, or let me rephrase that. You're afraid, but you still go for it. You still risk what you need to risk in order to grow and in order to evolve. Especially when you feel like you're stagnant in the environment that you're in. So for a long time and for all of my growing years, it gave me everything that I needed for those moments and those seasons in my life. But it came to a point where I felt like I was outgrowing the environments that I was in, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't know and I didn't have things figured out. And at the time, I couldn't tell you that it was the fact that I needed to move out of state. In fact, those of you guys who have followed my journey know that that decision literally came from a trip last May where I came camping to Arizona with some cousins and we went up to Payson. And that's when it sparked everything that it needed to spark. But I truly believe that God led me here and that I was led here after discovering so many new things about myself and allowing Him to lead me rather than allowing fear to hold me back. Now, as beautiful as California is, it is forever dear to my heart. And I will never tell you that I'm never going back to California because I don't know what my future holds. However, I do know that in that moment, I needed something different. I needed to change the environment that I was in to start attracting new friendships, new opportunities, and just overall becoming the woman that I had envisioned myself to be. Now, I understand that for a lot of you guys, you may ask, well, why couldn't you become the person that you wanted to be right where you were? Now that I look back, I realized that it was the environment that I was in. It was the limitations that others had put on me and I had also put on myself. And because of that, I wasn't allowing myself to grow in every area that I wanted to grow. Now, it's taken me some introspect to literally go back and look at every situation, every relationship, every friendship, and see exactly where I was, what I was repeating over and over again, what my patterns were, who I was as an individual, and what I wanted for my future and what I wanted that to look like, with what type of people, with what type of friendships, in what type of community, in what type of job. Now, again, I 100% love California for what it is, but something in my heart that lacked in California, at least in my experience and in my life, was community. Growing up in California, when we moved from Mexico to there, we didn't have a lot of family where we were growing up. And so I was most of the time by myself. Unfortunately, we weren't a really big family to where all of us were together all the time, like how we were in Mexico when I grew up, where all of us would get together literally every weekend. It was 20 and 30 people deep almost. Here, it literally ended up being just the four of us, my siblings and my mom. And that was a really hard transition. And growing up, I didn't realize how much I needed community until now that I've been able to be a part of such a beautiful community here in Arizona. Now, of course, in California, I had my friends and I still have those friends that I go back to. However, as you start to get older, you start to see how everyone is going on their own path. Everyone is going and doing the things that they are being called to do. And so I started to feel like I no longer fit in the friendships that I was in, that there was something within me, something higher that was calling me to do more and bigger things for myself than what other people were being comfortable with doing. And that's not to say that any of your friends or any of my friends, any of our families are ever bad or are ever complacent or are ever anything negative. That just says that everyone has different callings. And at the time, I didn't realize it, but I remember having conversations with my mom and even with my friends then, where I just felt like I needed to get new friendships. I needed to get out of the place that I was in. And California, especially LA area, is very much everyone to themselves. There's not a lot of community. You think of a Sunday over there and most people are not hanging out with their families on Sunday. It's not Sunday family day. It's literally like everyone to themselves, maybe partying, maybe going out, hanging out with a friend here and there. And that's a good time too, but it's not community based. And that was something that I felt that was lacking in my life. I obviously had never lived in Arizona, so I had no idea what that looked like here or how different or similar it was. I just knew that I was ready for something different. I was ready for something new. I felt called to coming out here, and that's exactly what I did. I followed the instinct. I let God guide me through this journey, and now I've been here for almost a year. For me, Arizona was a complete mind shift, so much so that I get the chills as I'm telling you this, because it's given me peace. It's given me a space to think. And it's given me permission to start fresh. Earlier, I talked about the limitations that I felt that other people had on me and that I also had on myself, because I tend to be someone that considers others' feelings. If they didn't like something that I was doing, or if they didn't want me to do something that I wanted to do, in order to please them and to consider their feelings, I would basically not do what I wanted to do. And so it of course took a lot of inner work to stop people pleasing and to start putting myself first above anyone else. However, Arizona has given me the space to literally start fresh. I didn't need permission to leave, and I don't need permission to grow. And neither do you. Now, I'm sharing this because I know there's other people just like me who feel like they are outgrowing their environment and don't know what to do, and maybe feel guilty of having the feelings that you have because you don't want to leave anyone else behind, or you don't want to move away from the people that you love, or you don't want to move out of a place that's hurting you, or a place that's not allowing you to grow, or a place where you feel like you have to continue to shrink yourself because you no longer physically fit there. I'm telling you this because I know there's so many people out in the world who find my courage and who find my bravery inspiring. And that is the point. It is to inspire you to grow out of the environment that you find yourself in, especially if you feel like it's stagnant, especially if you feel like it's holding you down, especially if you feel like your potential is so much bigger and you feel a calling towards something so much bigger, but there's fear and there's feelings of guilt and there's feelings of people pleasing and what are my parents gonna think, or what are the people that I love gonna think. Something that has helped me tremendously is that everyone has lived and has made the choices that they've wanted to make for their own life. I continue to be a loving and caring and considerate individual of those that I love and those that love me as well. However, I've also learned to stop people pleasing and start putting myself first, because only when I am my highest self and my bestest self can I actually be of help of others than when they're stepping on me. And many times when we're being stepped on, we don't even realize that we're being stepped on, because people have a funny way of manipulating us to think that if we leave or if we do something, it's gonna be the end of them. When in reality, they're using the manipulation tactic because they're not willing to be brave enough to do what's necessary of them to grow out of wherever they're at. Now, where I was in California, I lived in a beautiful 3-bedroom house. It was a huge high ceiling. I love the open concept that I had. It was beautiful for me. Matter of fact, I'm gonna be looking for a place like that really soon out here, because I would love to move out to a place with a huge open concept, big kitchen, since I like to cook and be in the kitchen a lot. But back to the topic, that old space was perfect for the old me. But for the person that I was starting to become, the new me no longer fit as big as that place was, because it was past the house that I was living in. It was more about my routine, my commute to and from work, my daily activities, the people that I constantly saw, just everything and everyone. I just felt like I was literally just outgrowing where I was. And growth asks you to make room for the next level, even when it means leaving things behind. For me, more than anything, it was literally like my soul calling me out of the place that I was in. Sometimes your soul knows it's time before your mind catches up. That nudge to leave, that's actually not fear. That's direction. That's you being called to something higher and something bigger. Those nudges that we feel at times, instead of listening to them, a lot of us put a lot of thought behind them, and we start to overthink our own inner being who is leading us to something higher. It's okay to miss what you left while still knowing that you had to go. Remember, we talked about this on another episode where two things can be true at the same time. You can miss what you've left while still embracing who you are and who you're becoming. This decision for me has been the most empowering decision that I have made for myself ever. It's allowed me to fully trust myself and to grow in ways that I really didn't think were possible. There were definitely moments of fear. There were definitely moments of resistance, and maybe of just thinking like, Amy, are you sure? Like, are you sure? And here's the truth. Fear doesn't mean you're making the wrong move. Resistance doesn't mean you're making the wrong move. It just means you're stepping into the unknown. And for a lot of us, stepping into the unknown, or literally not knowing what's on the other side of something, it's so scary. We become so anxious. We have to see before we believe that something can work. But yet, unless you're willing to go without knowing what it's gonna look like, can you actually be open and enjoy every possibility that comes? Sometimes we stay loyal to old version of ourselves just because they feel safe. But staying small isn't loyalty. It's literally self-abandonment. And the last thing I'm gonna do is continue to self-abandon. That never works. It hasn't worked up until now. I literally am getting the chills every time I say something about this topic because I feel so strongly about it, but also it's taught me so much. Everything I've gained from from moving out of state has been a blessing. A new mindset, new peace, new possibilities, a deeper relationship with myself, and community, which was what at the end of the day I felt like I needed the most. Moving gave me the room to become someone I didn't even realize I was allowed to be. Moving allowed me to meet new beautiful people that I am now friends with. Beautiful people that want to support me as much as they support those that they've known for so long. That want to show up for me in ways that I hadn't seen in such a long time. In such genuine ways that have allowed me to also continue to be open with myself and with others. Think about this for yourself. What spaces have you outgrown but you're afraid to leave? This can physically look like the place that you live in, the state that you live in, but it can also be a job. It can also be a relationship, a friendship. Are you shrinking yourself to stay somewhere that's already expired? What would your future self tell you to do? You're not crazy for how you're feeling. You're growing and it's okay to move on. It's okay to start over. It's okay to start somewhere new with someone new in a new place without knowing anybody else. I literally did not know one friend here in Arizona. I knew I had family here and I knew that I would get to hang out with them. But I didn't know all of the friends that I now have. Not one single individual. Try to be graceful to yourself and remember that you don't need all of your answers now. You literally just need the courage to say, I'm ready. I'm ready. Not me getting emotional because I'm ready. I continue to be ready. I am ready and I'm open to new opportunities, to new love. I'm open to new friendships, to new community. I'm open and ready to give and receive. I'm ready. Are you ready? Let this be your sign. That place, that version of you, it's gotten you here, but it's not where you're meant to stay. Let me know in the comments what environment you're outgrowing and what's one thing you're ready to step into. I would love, love, love to also be inspired by what you guys have going on in your lives. Remember that in sharing and in being open with one another, we're able to help each other grow, evolve into the best version of ourselves. You're evolving and you're allowed to make the space for the woman that you're becoming. If you love this video, please consider sharing, liking, and subscribing to this channel. Also turning on your notifications so that you can get notified whenever there is a new video or if you ever miss one of them. If you are new here, just know that there is a new video every Wednesday at 11 a.m. I will see you guys next week. I'll see you guys in the comments as well because I'm always very much active in the comments. I love to read your comments and I love to respond back and just really introspect, but also get ideas off of you guys. I love you guys. And by the way, did you notice my new hair? I know you guys have seen it on my vlog from last week and on my socials, but if you didn't and if you hadn't, she's a brunette now and she's ready to step into her next level. Mwah, bye.